at jeffbyrdcoaching.com. Again, JEFFBYRD coaching.com. Let Jeff's Coaching Rocks be the building blocks of your empowered success. Now, let's go back to Jeff for the rest of today's message.
Now, there's another way that we can be drained of energy, and I want to thank a friend of mine who's a coach. She works with a local university, and her name is Denise McNerney. And I was given a presentation for a group a few months ago, and during one of the breaks, she came up and she introduced how she tries to help people manage their energy. And she gave me this thought that I'd never had before, and I was like, "Wow, Denise, I appreciate that so much. This is really good. I'm going to steal this." And she's fine, of course, with that. But she said that she does this for herself, and she tries to help other people. And it's related to our activities and our events, not so much the other people. People can be a part of it, but some events, some activities require greater energy. It might be physical energy, it might be mental energy, it might be emotional energy, depending on what field you're in or what work you do. But certain events require more energy. And I thought this was just brilliant. She said she actually goes through the things that she has to do that day or that week and color codes them. She gives a certain color, maybe a red, to a high energy event. And maybe an orange, or a yellow, or they're a green. We'll just use the stoplights. I don't remember what color she used, but we'll just use like stoplights. Red, yellow, and green. And she said she'll go through the things that she has coming up, and she'll color code them. And the reason she does that is she wants to make sure that she doesn't have a bunch of red events, high energy events, back to back. Because she doesn't want her energy to get depleted and not have enough reserve for herself or for the others for whom she's responsible. So, and I thought that is absolutely brilliant, boy. And so I really recommend this. If you color code it or not, think about your events. And in planning them, determine what energy levels will be required for the things you need to do. And don't put a bunch of high energy events back to back for any period of time unless it's absolutely unavoidable. And then if that is the case, make sure on the bookends of those high energy events, you've got green events, you've got renewal time, you've got time for yourself. Space those high and even medium events, space them together. Have high and medium and low, and try to for the ones that are going to require more of you and take more of your energy, try to put in some low energy events and time for renewal. And that looks different for everybody. I'm very renewed by just sitting quietly and thinking. Very quietly, meditatively, prayerfully, just thinking through things. That renews me, and then I'm ready to go. Once I catch up with myself and review and reflect, and then I'm ready to go again. I've got something to give. I've got some energy. Other people, it's through very active things. Some people don't sit still well at all. I've got a dear friend, and that's the case with him. He said, I have no idea to sit still. I'm like, well, just find something that renews you, or that gets you where you have a space to think, even if you're active, and do that. But find out what that is and schedule those times in. Just whatever you do, don't put those high energy events back to back to back for any period of time, because you'll end up out of energy. You'll end up at the bottom of the bucket. Your attitude will probably go downhill. Your responses to things will probably go downhill. Years ago, I was listening to a radio show, and they had a therapist on there. And the host asked the therapist, well, what's the first thing you do when you get somebody in for therapy? He said, well, the first thing I do is I give them a pad of paper and a pen, and I ask them to list everything that's bothering them that they'd like to talk about. Fair enough. He said, well, what's the next thing you do? He said, well, I find out how much they're sleeping each night, and I increase it by a half an hour each night per week. Every week it goes up a half hour from wherever they are until they get to 9.5 hours of sleep a night. And the host was amazed by this. And he said, well, what happens then? He said, well, I bring them back in, and I give them their original list that they wrote of things that they needed help with, that were problems, and I have them cross off anything that's no longer an issue. He said, and typically they will cross off 90% of the items on their list. And then we start addressing the other 10%. He said, I do this because most of the issues in our lives that we think are big issues are because we're exhausted. we have no energy. We're running so hard, we're at the bottom of the barrel, and we don't have anything for anybody else. As we get the rest and take the time that we need, those issues just automatically resolve themselves because we're at a healthy energy state. And then the second thing is the things that are real issues, we now have energy to put into thinking about them and helping get them resolved. Okay, so a few tips here, a few takeaway tips. So even when you're dealing with loved ones, minimize time spent with energy vampires. It's so easy for people to get trapped into, well, it's my family. Gotta spend that time with them. No, you don't. Not if they're holding you back. And here's how you address that. You don't want to look down on them. You don't want to cause a conflict. What you do is determine the direction you need to move in and invite them to move forward with you. But if they won't continue with you moving forward on your path, nothing is gained by both of you staying stuck right where they are. You don't help them and you don't help yourself by just staying in that same place with them where they refuse to move from. And if you invite them, if you give them a remedial course of action to help move forward together and get better and they refuse it, then they've unmasked their rebellion. They don't want to get better. And now that frees you from feeling guilty about staying stuck where they are. But then as you do move forward, don't do it with a bad attitude towards them. Do it with the attitude of, hey, this is so great. This is what I really feel I need to do, and I'm moving forward in this. And if you ever decide to join me, you just reach out and let me know. Leave that door open. Don't slam the door in their face. Don't look down on them. Don't give them a bad attitude. Give them an open door for when they decide to take the journey when they're ready. Okay, the next thing is be realistic about the amount of energy you have to give. Okay, be realistic about that. None of us are Superman or Superwoman. That's a lie. That's a myth. That's a legend. That's not reality. None of us are that. Be realistic about it. Well, some of the things that might help you are notice the times when you start to fade during and after certain activities. Look at your energy level during certain activities. How long can you do a certain activity before you start really feeling drained and need to step away from it? And then plan that activity accordingly with some rest time and recovery, some low energy or even medium energy activities on either side. But notice those things. Pay attention to that. And then plan more of those activities, that energize you and limit to the extent possible those that drain you. Right? Space them out if you can't get rid of them. But don't just always be doing the draining things. And space the events with down times, renewal times, events requiring less energy. And here's a really important one. Because so many people that are always giving, always doing, they feel guilty for taking time for themselves. There was a book a friend of mine told me about back in the day. It's called When I Relax, I Feel Guilty, right? So many caregiver type people, doer people, they feel guilty for taking time for themselves. When you are drained, make no apology for taking the time you need for you. Hey, I'm tired. I'm going to take a nap if you're able to do that. I'm going to bed early. I'm going to take some time this weekend for myself. I don't want to have to interact. Interactions can be draining. Do what you need that renews you when you need it. And here's the thing. Do it in advance. Do it in advance. You'll be a lot better off. Don't wait until you're wiped out and exhausted to try to renew. It'll take longer to renew. What we want to do is keep a full tank, not running on fumes, right? We don't want to just put enough in and then get wiped out again. Just put a little bit of a gallon of gas and then we're out. A gallon of gas and then we're out. We want to keep that tank full, and we do it by planning the time so that we can renew our energy. So again, be careful of the energy vampires, those people that take you down, that you're exhausted by being around. Be careful of them. Back off from them to the greatest extent possible. And then in your events, make sure you don't plan too many of those high energy events. Be mindful of the amount of energy that different types of events that you have to do or require, and space them out and leave time for renewal. Even if you have to get up early, if you have to do something to get away, do what it takes, because you're no good running on fumes or broke down on the side of the road with an empty tank. I hope this is helpful to you. I appreciate you tuning in. Again, I'm Jeff Byrd, Jeff Byrd Coaching. If I can be of help to you, please reach out to me at Jeff@JeffByrdCoaching. jeffbyrd.com. Again, I'm a speaker, a trainer, leadership developer. I work with individuals, with various organizations, corporations, for-profits, nonprofits, anywhere I can help people. So feel free to reach out, Jeff at Jeff Byrd Coaching. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jeff Byrd, and this is Empowered Living.